Hi everyone, this is Krista with Art Graphics Studio. Today I'm going to show you how to upload and assemble 4 different pop-up bouquet cards. Note that these cards are blanks. Use your imagination to decorate them for your occasion. The SVG files can be obtained from my Etsy shop, Art Graphics Studio. So let's get started. If you have not already downloaded your SVG file, you can go to my Etsy shop by going to etsy.com and searching for Art Graphics Studio. Then scroll or search for the SVG you're looking for. If you are a Cricut Design Space user, you may be able to access my free designs. For more information, see my note at the end of this video. Sometimes, depending upon your system and/or your software, you may have to resize your uploaded design before you can make it. While I'm demonstrating this in Cricut Design Space, the same principles apply no matter what software you're using. So to get started, you'll need to upload your design files. Now, typically in Cricut, this is going to be an SVG file, but there might be other files, PDFs or PNGs or JPEGs. So let's go to Upload, Upload Image, and Browse. Now we're going to go to where we know our files are, in this case, crafts and envelopes. Now today I'm going to show you on this 4.5 by 9.5 inch envelope. So I'll open that and open the SVG file. Now here's our file. So let's upload that. And here it is. Now let's just click on that. And you see this green border? That indicates that it's selected. So we want to add that to our canvas over on the lower right. Now here we have it. Let's make it a little smaller so we can see the whole thing. Now you can see it's all grouped, but before we ungroup it, we need to do one thing, and that is to resize it, or to see if we need to resize it. In this case, I said I wanted a 4.5 by 9.5 inch card. So I'm going to create a rectangle, unlock the edit, and change that to width of 9.5 and a height of 4.5. Oops, 9.5. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to move this size that I know to be the correct size into place. About there. And as you can see, that's pretty close. So I think I'm just going to use that. And I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need it now. But let's say, for example, our envelope or whatever our project was came in at a different size. So here's the size we wanted, but as we can see, it's way too small. So what we want to do now is to adjust the size of the project. In this case, it's an envelope. So I'm just going to grab the corner and I'm going to expand it until I get it about where I think it ought to be. Now I've gotten it a little too big, so I'm going to reduce that. And there, that's about what we need for it to be. So we don't need our rectangle anymore. And here we are, ready to start designating our score lines. So now we know it's the right size. Let's go ahead and ungroup it. Now we want to change our score lines into score lines because they come in as cut lines. And in order to do that, click on the area that you know to be your score lines. And the way you know these will be score lines is because this box right here turns red. So we want to change basic cut to score. Now you can see that we have our score lines. Now all you have to do is select both your score lines and your design and attach them. Now you're ready to make it. And when it comes up, you can see that your score lines and your design is all on your cutting board. Today I'm going to show you how to put together my pop-up vase bouquet. It's a really simple card to make. It folds flat to mail. The hardest thing about it is to make the little flowers. And these are just up to you. I've made a bunch of them. We'll get into that later, but I'm going to show you how to put together the base
and then we'll start putting together all the bouquet itself. These two pieces are the base that make the base of the vase, of the vase. And these are going to be the mechanisms that go inside of it. And you can see that they are scored. Both these pieces are scored. Go ahead and fold on your score lines. This is the way this will go. Now this one will go like this. This one will glue like this. All right, now we're going to take this one and we're going to glue it right here, right along this edge. Make sure those are lined up. All right. Now that is our base. Now what we'll want to do next is to go ahead and put our decor. Now you don't have to use these little panels if you don't want to, but I provided you with enough to cover each of these spaces. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. Now these pieces are the mechanism pieces and they're scored on each end and in the middle. So we're going to fold those. Now, we're going to take our vase and eventually we will glue it here, but we're not going to do that yet. We're going to need to put our mechanisms inside. Now, with our narrow edge on this side, we're going to add the first mechanism. Now what we will do is to glue this mechanism to here. But now this is going to glue to this edge, so we don't want to glue that down right now. We're only going to want to glue this side. And we want to line up our score line here with our score line here. Now on the next one, you're going to put glue on both sides. And again, we're going to line up our score lines. We're going to let that dry a minute. Now we're going to do the very same thing with the next one. the same thing for the last one. Now we're going to close it. So let's bend this back, and we're going to glue this like this. So let's put a generous amount of glue here. Now remember for now to keep this out of the way. On this one, I am going to use paper clips to hold it in place while it dries. Get those edges straight. And we'll give that just a minute to dry, and then we will connect this one, the one that was still loose, we will connect it here. So it will look like this. So let's let that dry. Now we're going to put some glue on this edge right here. And put it right here. And as you can see, this side looks like this side. I'm gonna put a little paper clip on that to hold it in place for it to dry for a few minutes. Then this is going to be a little banner, and I think I've made this one a little too large, but we'll see how it works out. I do want to put some dimensionals on that to raise it up just a little bit, so I'm going to do that right quick. That'll just lift it up off of the background. Now in the project file, I have just included a small banner, and that might actually work a little better than what this is, but just use your imagination. Okay, now here we are. We're ready to add our flowers and our greenery, balloons, whatever it is that you'd like to add to this. This is our vase. And this shows you how it will fold flat. So all you need to do now is to add your decor, your flowers, your balloons to the stems. And I've provided you with quite a few stems. Now the reason I've done that is because in order to make these sturdy enough to hold and fold, I have glued 2 of them together, back to back. So what we'll do now is that we will take our flowers we made, or our balloons or whatever we're going to be using, and I've made a bunch of them. The more you use, the fuller your bouquet will look, but it's just up to you. Just add whatever it is that you'd like to put on there. We may not even use all these, we'll just see. All right, now I've made these plenty long, and I have designed this for a 5x9 envelope. And I do not want the stems and the total of the flower to pull up over 9 inches. So let's measure that. This is 3 inches. So we have up to 6 inches that we can actually play with. We might want to make that a little smaller. So there's our 6 inches. So we know we can bring this up over this about 3 more inches easily. Now, if these are too long, we can trim them off. But before we get started doing that, let's go ahead and put these on our stems. And I'll do that and be right back. Now, how many stems you need is going to completely depend on how many flowers you make and how many you use. Now, I have also provided with some leaves on mine. You don't have to use leaves on yours if you don't want to, but I put some greenery that I can use to kind of fill up the back and put around. And now it's just a matter of putting together your flowers, choosing how you want them to be in your vase. As I said, I want to keep it under 9 inches. That there would be about 7 inches. And so you just start putting the flowers where you'd like to see them. I'm going to start with some of the larger ones in the back, and you will glue them to the stems. That right there is about 7.5 inches. So I'm going to start there, and you can put them on sideways, you can put them straight up, whatever you'd like to do. I am going to go ahead and trim that just a little bit on the bottom. And we're just going to hold it now. Don't overlap your fold lines, your score lines, because that'll make it where it won't lay flat. But go ahead and put that in there. Start with your first one, and then just start adding them as you like. And as I said, I'm going to put the larger ones to the back, and this one I'm going to make quite a bit shorter, and I'm going to put it right there. Now, if you'd like, you can put a paper clip in there to hold it in place while it glues. I like to do that. Then I can go on to other things. And you just keep doing that until you have all your flowers in place. Now, as you get to the front, you will want to make your stems much shorter. And here again, that's just up to you how you want to do it. So I'm going to add some more of these, and then I'll come right back. All right, here we go. I've added all the flowers to it, added some balloons, and as you can see, I've just glued them in. And there it is. And it does fold flat to male. And this one ended up being about 8 by 8. So you will need some extra postage if you decide to mail it. And that's all there is to it. All right, we're going to get our flowers ready. Got them cut out. And what I have done is I have used a VersaFine Imperial Purple to kind of give it some additional dimensions. So I'm just going to use that on the smaller and kind of put it mostly in the center on the smaller ones. Now on the bigger ones, I'm going to take and I'm going to put a dot in the middle, and then I'm going to drag it out so that it makes lines. And I think that'll give it a more realistic look. Fold it in half. And then we're going to glue this one to here. And we're going to take the first one, and we have the 2 pieces here, and then we have the bottom piece. And we're going to take the next one, and we're going to glue this to here, like that. Just a little bit of glue. I'm going to put the next dot of glue right here and right here. And we're going to lay this one over where we had the original one. Now we're going to put a dot of glue only on this one, and we're going to line it up like this. We're going to keep doing that, going back and forth until we've got all of them there. So this one will be here and here. And we'll lay that on top of the first one. And then this one will be only here. And we'll lay that on the bottom. And we just keep doing that until we've got them all on there. Now we're going to do that until we have 7 of them together, and then we're going to do the same thing with the other 7. So we'll start here. We'll put a little spot of glue right here. All right. Then we'll put a spot of glue here and here. And we'll place this on top of the first one. Then we'll put one spot of glue here. And we'll place this one on the bottom one. And we'll keep doing that until we have all 7 of them together. Now on the smaller ones, we're just going to fold them like we did the other one. Now you don't have to use these. These are for the inside of the flower. If you decide not to use them, that's fine too. And so now you just want to put a little glue there. And these will sit just inside here if you want to use them. That's entirely up to you. So we'll get the rest of those glued. Now here we have our flowers all ready to adhere to our card. Now here's our card base. And it's scored down the middle. And I have made some panels. Now I have embossed mine, but you decorate it however you want to, or you can use decorative paper, or you can use none. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these down to my base. I like to use glue because I can wiggle it around, but if you want to use tape, that's okay too. And the base and all these panels are cardstock, where the flowers are all paper. Just a minute. All right, we're going to let that dry just a minute. All right, next we're going to put our flowers on. And the way we're going to do this is that we'll have one here and one here. But we're going to open this up and kind of see where it needs to go as far as distance from here and from here. Put it just below the center line so that both of them will fit. So on the very back here, we will put a little dot right in the center, and that is where we will put our glue. Now we're going to lay this down, and that looks like it's just about right. So we're going to close that and let that dry. Right, now we're going to glue this last one to here. And all we're going to do is just put a little bit of glue here. Hold that down, fold that over, and let that set up to dry. Okay, now we're going to put the other one on. And we're going to do the same thing. We'll take the very back one and glue it here, and that one and glue it there. I'm going to mark where I want that glue dot to be. And we're going to let that get good and dry. While that's drying, we're going to take our little pestles and put them inside our flowers. And just kind of ball them up together like this. Then put some glue in the middle and just stick it down in there. Just like that. If you want to, you can put a little prick in the middle, kind of pull it up around it, or a pencil, whatever you'd like to do. Stick it in there and let that dry. And I'll do the rest of them and we'll be right back. Now we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to put some glue here. And glue it down right here. I think I'm going to put 2 little dots there. And we're going to let that dry. All right, here we go. Now, all we have to do now is to add some leaves wherever you'd like to put them, and then take our centerpieces and just put a little spot of glue here and push it right in there. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come right back. Now we let that dry. Let's go ahead and fix our badge for the front, and I have put dimensionals on those, and here is our front panel. All right, now we will glue this to the front, and we can put a little ribbon on here if we'd like to, make it pretty. Now this is a pretty thick card, so if you're going to be mailing it, you probably should put it in a box envelope, and I do have some box envelopes on my Etsy website and also in Cricut Design Space. So let's go ahead and let that glue down. And I'm going to make just a little ribbon to go on there. Now add a little purple ribbon on it. I think that's pretty. Let that dry. Now if you'd like to, I just made a note that you might want to go ahead and put this front cover on before you start adding the flowers, because it does make it a little uneven. But I think that turned out very pretty. These are the components for the envelope bouquet. This is such a simple card to make and so much fun. I have the back. You don't have to use anything on the back if you don't want to, but I've opted to make a back for it. And then this will be the front, and then all the other components. Now what I have done here is I have made several layers of this so that it will stand up a little bit when I put it on the card. And these will go right on top of that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down, and then we'll be right back. So while that dries, let's go ahead and put together our envelope. And as I said, here's our back. And these are our side springs. And we scored those in 4 places. Now these will go here. And what this will do is to separate the back of the card from the front of the card, just like that. So let's glue these down. Put that right in the corner. Same thing on this side. Line that up right in the corner. We're going to let those dry just a minute. Now these are the springs that will hold the back flowers away from the back of the card. And we have also scored those, and they will look like this. And I made 3, but I don't know how many I'm going to be using. You may only need 1 or 2, or you may decide you don't need any. All right, now we're going to put our front on. We're just going to run a bead of glue on each side here. And line those up. And here again, we're going to let it dry. Now we're going to take our corners for the very front of our envelope, and we're going to glue those like this, with the rounded side toward each other. And you want to be sure you don't put glue on this part right here or this part right here, because it'll glue to the back. All right, we're going to let that dry, and then we'll come back and start putting on our decor. And you can see how that is a little springy there. That's part of your bouquet pop-up. Now we're going to start putting our flowers on. And I have cut out a variety of sunflowers, but you use whatever flowers you want to use. Now your blank does not come with any flowers, so you'll need to make those or download those however you want to do that. If you're using Cricut Design Space or another program, you can just use their elements. So I'm going to kind of decide how I want these to go. And maybe like that. So we're going to take our spring and we're going to glue it to here. And then maybe one of these. Okay, we'll let those stick a minute and then see how else we want to put it. We might put a third one lower. I think I will. Maybe this one. All right. Now, when you put these on, you want to make sure that you don't overlap the edges or the top of the card. If you do, it won't fit in a 5x7 envelope. But if you want to enter this little space right here, you can certainly do that. And we're going to put our glue on these two tabs. See how nicely that pops up? Now here's a smaller one. I think I'm going to put this over here, maybe down below. Now let's let that dry a minute, then we'll come back and finish up. Maybe we just want to put one more. Here maybe. Yeah, I think right here. Now, we can start putting some on the outside here. And here again, it's just whatever you'd like. I think I might put that one right in the back and glue it directly to the back. There, right there. Okay, now we're going to put some on the front. Be sure not to overlap your edges so it'll fit in the envelope. Now we're going to have our title here. So keep that in mind when you're placing these. Looks like it needs a little something right there. Maybe right about there. Now we're going to put this on, and you can put that on with dimensionals if you'd like. Raise it up a little bit. Of course, that's going to add more bulk when you get ready to mail it. So keep that in mind. But I think it still needs to be lifted up just a little bit. So I'm going to put some dimensionals on that and add it to the card. So I've got my dimensionals on, and I'm just going to put it right here. Again, we don't want to overlap the edges. Now I've got a couple little butterflies, and I'm going to put one maybe right there. That looks like a good place. Now, we have our back, and on the back, I think I'm going to put my other butterfly right, I think right down here. Again, do not overlap the edges of the card. Then we're going to add this to the back of this. All right, and there we have our little pop-up envelope card. It's really cute, really precious, and that is all there is to it. Hi everybody, today I'm going to show you how to make the Peekaboo Bouquet card. Now what comes in the bundle is a blank. I have decided to make mine into a thank you card. And this is just one idea that you can use for this card, and it's very easy to make. So I've got my base, which is scored down the middle. I've got 2 inside cards. Now you can use this one or not use this one. A lot of people do it different ways. And this will go on the front, like this. And then this one will go as a backdrop. Now I have chosen to emboss mine, but of course you can do anything that you'd like to with yours. So first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and apply the panels. This one and the front panel. So let's do that and I'll be right back. I'm going to go ahead and put that on here. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and put this badge that'll go on the front of the card. I'm going to put it on this little background with dimensionals. All right, now we're going to put our mechanism in here. I want to line up this edge with that crease. And then this edge will line up right here. I'm going to move my mechanism down so it's just above my liner here. All right, so I'm going to put some glue right here. Got it lined up here and here. Then I'm going to close the card and let that dry. All right, so we've got this glued in right here. And I've gone ahead and added the trim piece to the front of this card right here. So the next thing we want to do is we have this little piece right here, which is just a stopper to keep the card from being loose here. So we're just going to put that sort of to the right there. Make sure you get the glue only on the 2 end pieces. And we're going to let that dry a minute. Okay, this part is a little bit tricky. And you can see the distance here. We want to move this up so it's about the same distance. as that is on each side, so that our vase is in the center. What we want to do is we want to put some glue on these two tabs. And then we want to kind of see, with those tabs folded under, we want our vase to end up, when it's open like this, we want to end up about the same distance here, this side and this side. So when we want the card to open, we want this to slide so that it ends up about in the middle. So let's close that with a little bit of an arch there on that. And I'm going to go ahead and put some paper clips on there to help hold that in place while it dries. Now here we have our card. And you can see the vase pops up. Now one thing I will mention, that the mechanism does show. If you don't like that mechanism showing, then we can do a couple of things. You can either not put a liner here and just leave it white so it blends in, or you can make this out of this cardstock. Doesn't bother me, but once you get the flowers on there, it's a little bit of a distraction, so you won't notice it at all. Here are the flower petal parts for the Peekaboo Bouquet card. And I'm going to show you how to put this together. Now, this is one flower, so ever how many flowers you decide to make for your card, you'll need a set of these for each one. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is on mine, I'm going to go ahead and put some shading on that. And I'm using the VersaFine Crimson Red. I'm just going to put this down toward the center. Now I'm going to take each one of these petals and I'm going to overlap them where they're split just a little bit, enough to give them a little bit of shape. And I am going to put a little paper clip on that to hold it till it dries good. And I'm going to do that with all the other ones. All right, I've got them all folded over and glued. Now I do want to mention that I'm making these out of paper, just colored copy paper. If you have some decorative paper that you'd like to use, that'll work just great also. And while I'm letting those petals dry, I'm going to go ahead and put some VersaFine Spanish moss on my leaves down the center to just give them a little more definition. Of course, this is completely optional. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of gray or black down the center of this also to give it some additional definition. I think I'm going to use a smoky gray. And rather than using a sponge, I think I'm going to use a brush. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. All right, now that our petals are dry, I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to give them a little bit of a curl along the edge. All right, there we go. Now we're going to take our center hub and we're going to start placing our petals around that central hub. And we have 6 petals and we have 6 sides. So kind of try to get that sort of in the middle of each one of those and place them overlapping a little bit like this. And we'll glue those down. All right, we're gonna let that dry and we'll come back and put the little ones on. Okay, let's go ahead and glue on our little ones. Now, here's our little centerpiece. I'm gonna put some glue right in the center there. And there you go, that's our flower. So you'll need as many of these as you want for your card. Okay, I've got all of my flowers pretty much made. I still just have to put the little piece inside. But before I do that, I want to take my VersaFine again, red crimson, and I want to just darken the center of each one of these. That'll give it a little more realistic look. Now, if you don't have the VersaFine or some other stamp pad, you can always just use markers and just color it in, or even colored pencils. It's all a matter of taste. Now, I have made some of these in gold and some of them have white. Now, I have made 13 flowers. You may not want that many. You may only want 1 or 2, 3 or 4. That's just up to you. When you pull it into your software, you just make as many as you'd like. So now I'm going to take my little center pieces and I'm going to turn them up just a little bit and just pop them right in the center. And I'm going to do that till I get them all done. And I will be right back. Okay, here we are. Here's all our little flowers ready to go on the card. All right, now we're going to be adding our flowers. Now these flowers will be showing through here. And it is going to make this card very thick. So you'll probably, if you're going to mail it, you'll need to mail it in a box envelope. I have some flowers with the gold center and some with the white center. I'm going to save a couple to go on the front. I have some that I'll be gluing directly to the back. And we want to be sure that we keep the flowers out of the edge of the card. It's 5 by 7. And we want to keep them away from the fold. So let's go ahead and glue those down. That might need to come over just a little bit. All right. Now we're going to let those dry a minute, get them stuck. Well, a little more glue, I think. And I'm just going to hold those a minute until they get just stuck where I can let them go. Now while they're drying, I'm going to take some of the stems that I made and attach them to some of these other flowers. Now you'll probably have to trim them off. Probably too long, but let's just see. Maybe one more. And we'll see how that goes. So let's let this dry a little bit because we're going to be handling a lot, and we'll see how, and then we'll come back. I'm going to go ahead and add some leaves, I think, to this background. You want to stay away from the fold. See if I've got room up here for one. Oh yeah. Okay, now we will let those dry and come back. All right, now we can take some of these and we can put them inside. But you can see it's a little too long, so we're going to cut some of that off. And put that inside here. Get it done. And you know what? I think I am going to just glue one right here. While those are in place, I'm going to go ahead and put the decor on the outside, and I do have dimensionals. And if you'd like to, you can put a flower or two on the front. That is going to make it more bulky though. Now, as soon as those are dry, we'll be done. Okay, here we go.
Thanks for watching, and if you find this video useful, don't forget to click the like, subscribe, and notification bell to stay informed about more exciting projects. I appreciate you watching my video, and I will see you next time. If you're a Cricut Design Space user, you can access some of my shared projects by opening Cricut Design Space, and on the home screen, in the search bar, type Art, Graphics, Studio, and press Enter. Then scroll down to Community Members and click on Art Graphics Studio. There you'll find all of my shared projects.